This is so uncomfortable, but it is also the real substance of our relationship. I always resented the fact that you really excelled at and enjoyed teaching as much as you did. And you saw this in terms of a place to play with ideas, to teach students, to have a pleasant and enjoyable life, healthy as it was in the great outdoors, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. And I still see these characteristics in you, and it drives me nuts because you're your own worst enemy in some ways to me. What you really are, to me, is an unbelievable thinker and researcher. And beneath this kind of very nice, friendly pedagogue is a thinker that the world doesn't know. And I watched recently your interactions with Richard Dawkins, and it was absolutely infuriating. I mean, he's very clear. It's like, well, Bret is a real hero so far as free speech and standing up for free inquiry goes, but he's very confused. Well, no, I don't think that that's right. I think that you guys had a really substantive interaction about biology, which I wish he would spend more time on because he's phenomenal at it when he's focused on it. And you're phenomenal. And that was supposed to be a really different conversation. But because we got to know you the wrong way, in my opinion, you're always the guy who is strong enough to stand up to students at an obscure place. And this completely masks who you've always been. And you're not willing to take up the yoke, which is the more important role for you.
Well, I don't know that I'm not willing. I think you and I have a different approach to this, and it may be, birth order stuff or whatever. But, and I have the benefit of you in the world doing what you do, which I do wonder sometimes what would have happened to me at Evergreen had I only had my own tools at my disposal. It's quite possible I would have been effectively snuffed out in private, and I don't know what I would be doing at the moment. As it happens, the Evergreen story turned into rocket fuel that propelled me into a strata where there's lots of interesting things to do that may not be exactly what you're talking about, but they make sense.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I don't think you understand what it is that I'm trying to do here. I believe that you're miscategorized, and you're really not grasping that this is my opportunity.
No, I am grasping it.
Okay.
What I think distinguishes us is that we have very different styles with respect to approaching things. I, for example, take a certain perverse pleasure in watching Dawkins slowly move in my direction, which I believe is happening. Now, I would like him to move faster. He's not a young man, and I think it's actually quite important that he recognize where the errors in his own thinking are. And to be honest, I believe I know where at least several major ones live, and I know what he would see if he could be brought to understand the nature of those errors and to confront frankly, the portal that opens if you walk through a slightly different door than he's been walking through. But, it didn't work in one evening. I always wondered if it would. But there is still the possibility that he will have the epiphany that I hope he will have.
I really don't understand even where we are in this conversation.
Okay.
You're not getting it. You were found at Evergreen State College. That is a communication to the world that you weren't very good.
Yep.
And every time I try to say, this is completely wrong, you don't catch the ball that's being thrown to you, which is you're not understanding what you're up against. He doesn't take you seriously because you don't have a list of publications that speaks to who it is that you actually are or what you've done or where you've been. And as a result, you continue to be the good guy who's very well spoken, very thoughtful, says very interesting things, and constantly gives away power to other people.
I don't think so. There's a question about how to confront the opportunities that you've got, the hand you've been dealt. And I think you and I share a certain delight when we do our homework and we discover something interesting and absolutely nobody else gets it, that would feel bad to most people because they would feel like, what am I doing wrong? Why does nobody else understand this point? To you and me, that feels good. It is to know that you have achieved something, you have discovered something, and that nobody else can even recognize it, gives you some sort of sense of how far ahead you might be. The question is what to do with those things. And I think the question is, if I went through something with, I said something intemperate to the New Atheists, and suddenly Steven Pinker, Jerry Coyne, Michael Shermer, Richard Dawkins, and Neil Shubin came at me all at once. Not on the topic that I had caused offense, on a totally different topic. They had picked something off my YouTube channel. Jerry Coyne had claimed to have debunked it. He was wrong, but nonetheless it provided fodder for them to attack. Their point was that I didn't understand natural selection, and that to the extent I might believe I knew something that other people didn't know, the right thing to do was to submit it to a journal and go through peer review. I pointed out to them that peer review was not Richard Dawkins' style, and that he, in fact, advanced the ball for the field substantially, but has barely published a paper. That backed them off that course, and their tune changed to, well, how about a book then? That's what Dawkins did. And to me, that's a win. The idea, I'm not against peer review. I want peers to review my work, but I don't want it snuffed out in private. And so to the extent that that little battle was the result of them underestimating me and not knowing that something was going to come back that was cogent and responsive to the world as it actually is, and having them back off their position and say, yes, actually a book would be a fine thing, that was positive movement from my perspective. They underestimated me and they had to back down. So I can't regret that too much. To me, on a different time scale, I believe I'm making progress toward a goal that you and I agree is the right one, but I'm not sure that coming at it guns blazing is the way to go.